It usually starts with something so small that you almost brush it off. Like you're in the middle of a meeting and a word you use every single day just vanishes.
Right, the mental file cabinet is just suddenly locked.
Yes, exactly. It's right on the tip of your tongue. Or, you walk into the kitchen to grab something and you just stand there completely blank staring at the refrigerator.
Staring at it like it's some sort of alien artifact, yeah.
I mean, the initial confusion is one thing, but then the physical reaction hits.
Oh, the dread.
Exactly. Your heart starts racing, this cold dread creeps into your chest, and you can't help but wonder, um, is this it? Like, am I losing my mind? Am I showing signs of early onset dementia?
It is a truly terrifying feeling when your own mind feels like a hostile, unpredictable environment.
It really is. But today we are taking a deep dive into the true nature of this phenomenon. So welcome to the deep dive. Our mission for you today is demystifying what we casually call brain fog.
Yeah, we really want to get into the weeds on this.
Right. We're going to explore the actual biology of why your brain short circuits. And, more importantly, how you can use targeted lifestyle and nutritional strategies to, clear that haze and protect your long-term cognitive health.
And right out of the gate, I think we need to offer some serious reassurance here. This is usually temporary.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, it is highly reversible. Brain fog is overwhelmingly driven by metabolic, hormonal, and environmental stressors.
So it's not permanent damage.
No, not at all. You are not looking at permanent brain damage or the inevitable decline of your faculties. You're basically looking at a biological system that is temporarily overwhelmed and just asking for a different kind of support.
And to figure out exactly what that support looks like, we've gathered an incredible stack of materials for you today.
Some really fascinating data in there.
Oh, absolutely. We're pulling from NHS clinical guidelines, some cutting-edge neurological research out of University College London, and extensive data on the Mindy diet. Plus, we've got targeted clinical insights focusing on menopause, post-viral fatigue, and overall cognitive resilience.
But before we can fix the fog, we really have to look under the hood, so to speak, and understand what is happening to your neurons.
Right, the biology of it all.
Exactly. Brain fog is fundamentally a systemic stress response, and it results in a localized energy crisis in your brain.
Okay, an energy crisis.
Yeah.
Let's get specific about what that crisis looks like day to day. Because when we talk about brain fog, we aren't just talking about, like, needing an extra cup of coffee.
No, it's way more profound than that.
Right. The sources point to very specific, measurable deficits. Reduced processing speed, struggling with working memory, that terrifying aphasia where you just cannot recall words.
And a massive drop in executive function.
Yes, which means planning a simple schedule suddenly feels like, I don't know, solving advanced calculus.
It really does. And the root cause of all those frustrating symptoms is that energy crisis we mentioned. A brilliant way to understand this is by looking at perimenopause and menopause.
Oh, interesting. How does that connect?
Well, the hormone estrogen does so much more than just regulate reproduction. In the brain, estrogen actually regulates glucose metabolism.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Think of it as the physical key that unlocks your brain cells, allowing them to pull glucose out of your bloodstream to use as fuel.
Oh, wow. That is fascinating. So when estrogen levels drop or when they fluctuate wildly during perimenopause, the key is suddenly missing.
Exactly.
You might have plenty of glucose in your blood from the food you just ate, but the brain literally cannot absorb its primary fuel source.
Bingo. The brain is quite literally starving for energy, even if you just had a meal. And we see a very similar biological energy drain in other conditions, too.
Like what?
Take post-COVID recovery or chronic fatigue syndrome. In those cases, your immune system is working in absolute overdrive, right? It's heavily demanding cellular energy, or ATP, to fight off systemic inflammation.
So it's stealing the energy from the brain.
Pretty much. Your body triages its resources, and the brain gets put into low-power mode.
That makes me think of like a city grid during a massive summer heat wave.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Yeah, so the power plant is struggling to keep up with the demand from all the air conditioners, right? So it starts initiating rolling brownouts to prevent the whole grid from collapsing.
That's exactly it.
Your brain isn't broken. The infrastructure is totally fine.
Yeah.
But the voltage has been dialed back so far that the street lights, which are like your word recall and short-term memory, they just start flickering or shutting off entirely.
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize it. Because the most important takeaway from that city grid analogy is realizing the brain is a biological organ with limits.
Right, it's not a machine.
No. We tend to treat our brains like they're infinite cloud storage and processing units. But it's physical tissue. When it's undergoing a major hormonal transition or dealing with a post-viral immune response, it requires grace.
It needs a break.
Exactly. You have to lean on compensatory strategies while your brain adapts to its new metabolic reality. Write things down, use calendar alerts, and just pace yourself.
But here is the paradox, and this is where I get tripped up. When you hit that mental wall at like 2 p.m. and you feel that brownout happening, human nature totally takes over.
Oh, the sugar cravings.
Yes.
Oh,
If your brain is desperate for energy, the most intuitive thing in the world is to reach for the fastest fuel available. You want a pastry, a sugary iced coffee, or a huge bowl of pasta.
of course you do.
But looking at the clinical data, doing that seems to make the fog significantly worse.
Ugh.
Why does feeding the engine its favorite fuel cause it to stall? I mean, glucose is glucose, right?
Well, it's because of the delivery mechanism and the vulnerable state of the brain that's receiving it. Remember, a stressed brain is already less efficient at using glucose. Its receptors are compromised.
Okay, so it can't handle a huge load.
Exactly. So when you eat refined carbohydrates or ultra-processed sugar, you flood the bloodstream with a massive spike of glucose. The brain cells just cannot process that sudden tsunami of fuel.
Ah, I see.
Instead of clean cellular energy, the metabolic machinery gets overwhelmed and produces a massive amount of oxidative stress.
So it's like trying to put out a small campfire with a high-pressure fire hose.
That's a great way to put it.
You don't get a nice steady burn. You just blast the logs everywhere and create a mess.
And the mess goes far beyond just a temporary sugar crash. When you consume a lot of ultra-processed foods, you trigger systemic low-grade inflammation throughout your entire body. And we are learning that this bodily inflammation does not stay confined to the body.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it actually breaches the blood-brain barrier.
Wait, let's back up. I thought the blood-brain barrier was this impenetrable fortress. Like, it's supposed to be the ultimate VIP security line, keeping the rest of the body's chaos away from our sensitive brain tissue.
Under ideal conditions, yes, it is. But chronic inflammation weakens that barrier. Inflammatory molecules slip through, and when they do, they sound the alarm bells for something called microglia.
Microglia.
Yes, microglia. They are the brain's resident immune cells. In a healthy brain, they're essentially the janitors. They quietly sweep up dead cells and clear out debris.
Okay, janitors sound good. But what happens when that alarm goes off?
Well, when they are activated by these inflammatory molecules from your diet or from a virus, they drop the brooms and pick up weapons.
Whoa.
They become neurotoxic. These rogue microglia actually start attacking and degrading your synaptic connections. They physically chew away at the networks your neurons use to communicate with each other.
That is incredibly sobering. So a massive sugar spike doesn't just make me sleepy. It creates inflammation that literally unleashes a confused immune attack on my own thoughts, snipping the wires between my brain cells.
That is the biological reality of neuroinflammation.
Wow. If that is what is happening on a cellular level, it completely shifts the priority. I mean, how do we call off the attack?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right. How do we use our daily habits to calm those microglia down and protect the wiring? And this is where the sources point heavily to a very specific dietary intervention, right? The MIND diet.
Yes, the MIND diet.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating because it wasn't just some trendy fad. It was developed by nutritional epidemiologists to specifically target brain health and prevent cognitive decline.
So it's highly targeted.
Exactly. It takes the most neuroprotective elements of the Mediterranean diet and the DAS diet, which is designed to lower blood pressure, and it combines them.
Now, the sources outline some very clear metrics, but I want to look at the why behind them. For instance, the research strongly emphasizes eating berries.
Specifically berries, yes.
Right, at least twice a week, rather than just any random fruit. Why are berries the holy grail for a foggy brain?
It comes down to a compound called anthocyanins. These are what give berries their deep red and purple colors.
Okay.
Anthocyanins are incredibly powerful antioxidants that possess a unique ability to cross that blood-brain barrier we just talked about.
Oh, so they can get in there.
They can, and once inside, they act like molecular fire extinguishers. They specifically target those rogue, hyperactive microglia and calm them down, stopping the oxidative stress that is damaging your synapses.
That's amazing. So you are physically sending in a chemical negotiator to tell the immune system to stand down.
Exactly.
And the diet also pushes heavy consumption of leafy greens, like 6 or more servings a week. What's the mechanism there?
Well, leafy greens are packed with folate, phylloquinone, and B vitamins, which are critical for the structural integrity of your nervous system. In fact, let's talk about vitamin B12 because it is a massive culprit in cognitive sluggishness.
I feel like people are always talking about B12.
For good reason. B12 is mandatory for your body to produce myelin.
Okay, myelin is the protective coating around our nerves, right? Like the rubber insulation around a copper electrical wire.
That is the perfect visualization. Your brain relies on electrical impulses to send messages. If that rubber insulation degrades or thins out because you're deficient in B12 or folate, the electrical spark leaks out.
Oh, so the signal gets weak.
Right, the signal loses velocity. By the time the message reaches the other side of the brain, it's weak and delayed, which you experience as the thought moving through molasses.
So B12 from your diet is actively patching the rubber insulation so your thoughts can travel at lightning speed again.
Precisely.
Okay, and what about omega-3 fatty acids? The Mind diet advocates for oily fish at least once a week.
Well, if B12 is the rubber insulation, omega-3s, specifically DHA and EPA, are the copper wire itself. Your brain is roughly 60% fat, and a huge portion of that is DHA.
60% fat. That's huge.
It is. And you need it to maintain the physical density of your synapses. If you don't have enough omega-3s, the physical structures of your brain cells become rigid and less able to form new connections.
Makes total sense. Now, there is one more nutrient I noticed appearing constantly across the clinical data for brain fog. Magnesium.
Magnesium is an absolute powerhouse. It acts as a gatekeeper for your neurons.
A gatekeeper. How so?
When your brain is inflamed or stressed, your neurons can become hyperexcitable, firing too rapidly until they basically burn out. Magnesium sits at the receptor sites and physically blocks them from overfiring.
Wow, so it literally chills them out.
It does. It also supports the production of GABA, which is your brain's primary calming neurotransmitter.
Okay, so eating the Mind diet, prioritizing the leafy greens, the berries, the fatty fish, and actively avoiding the ultra-processed fried foods and heavy saturated fats, it isn't just about losing weight.
No, not at all.
You are switching from a cheap, dirty fuel that clogs the engine to a premium synthetic oil that physically repairs the wiring and calls off the immune attack on your cells.
You are fundamentally changing the environment of your brain. You are lowering the inflammatory load so the tissue can finally heal.
But food is only half the equation here, right?
Definitely.
We've fixed the fuel and we've stopped the active damage. But what about the debris left behind? If those microglia have been making a mess, premium fuel alone won't clean up the physical waste. We have to talk about sleep, because the mechanics of what happens to our brain at night completely blew my mind.
The science of sleep architecture is truly revolutionary. We often view sleep as a passive state, right? Just turning the computer off for a few hours.
That's exactly, just powering down.
But biologically, sleep is the most active maintenance period your brain goes through. When you enter deep, slow-wave sleep, a mechanism called the glymphatic system kicks in.
And this is relatively new science, isn't it? The idea that the brain has its own plumbing system.
Yes, fairly new and incredibly important. During deep sleep, your actual brain cells shrink in size by up to 60%.
Wow, they physically shrink by 60%.
Yeah, they do. And this physical contraction opens up the spaces between the cells, allowing cerebrospinal fluid to rush in and literally power wash the tissue. It flushes out all the metabolic waste, the dead proteins, and the cellular exhaust that built up while you were awake and thinking.
Oh, that is amazing. It's like the streets of a major city. During the day, it's packed with cars and pedestrians. But at 3 a.m., the traffic clears out and the massive street sweepers come through to wash the pavement.
That's exactly what's happening.
But if you have fragmented sleep, which is incredibly common with menopause hot flashes or post-viral anxiety, those street sweepers never get to finish their route.
And that is the critical issue. If your deep sleep is constantly interrupted, or if you artificially suppress it by having a glass of wine before bed or drinking caffeine too late in the afternoon, that physical waste remains in your brain tissue.
Ugh, that sounds awful.
It is. You wake up the next morning with your synapses literally swimming in metabolic garbage. It is impossible to have clear focus or quick word recall when the physical environment of your brain is clogged.
So to protect that glymphatic wash cycle, the sources offer very specific biological triggers.
Yes, very actionable steps.
First, anchor your wake time. Getting up at the exact same time every day firmly sets your circadian rhythm. Second, get 10 minutes of natural sunlight in your eyes immediately upon waking.
That light is crucial.
because it halts the production of melatonin.
Right.
It starts a biological timer that ensures you will be sleepy at the right time that night.
Exactly.
And third, respect the half-life of caffeine. It stays locked in your brain's receptors for hours, so implementing a hard cutoff after lunch is vital.
And once you wake up with a clean, power-washed brain, you have to move your body. The clinical target for preserving cognitive health is 150 minutes of aerobic activity a week, alongside strength training.
I have to admit, I always used to think exercise just tired your body out so you fall asleep easier. But the research shows moving your muscles is a direct chemical intervention for your brain.
Oh, it really is.
How does a brisk walk or lifting a dumbbell actually change my cognitive function?
It's an incredible piece of cross-communication in the body. When you contract your muscles during exercise, they act like an endocrine organ. They secrete compounds called myokines into your bloodstream.
Okay, myokines.
These myokines travel up to the brain, cross the barrier, and stimulate the production of a protein called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor.
We hear about BDNF a lot in longevity circles.
Mm-hmm.
What does it actually do on a structural level?
Think of BDNF as a master architect and a paving crew combined.
Mm.
When you're experiencing brain fog, your neural pathways are damaged or inefficient. BDNF actively facilitates neuroplasticity.
So it's building new roads.
Exactly. It stimulates the growth of new dendrites, which are the branches that connect neurons, and it strengthens existing synapses. You are physically building a denser, more resilient brain network every time you elevate your heart rate.
So exercise isn't just a vague health recommendation. It is the specific biological trigger that commands your brain to rebuild itself.
Yeah.
Which brings us to a really crucial caveat. If you are deeply, deeply in the fog, recovering from an illness, or exhausted by hormonal shifts, the idea of overhauling your diet, perfectly timing your sleep, and starting an exercise regimen feels, well, impossible.
It's completely overwhelming.
Yeah. How do we do this without burning out the very battery we're trying to charge?
You have to utilize the concept of pacing. You cannot push through brain fog the way you might push through a difficult gym session.
You can't just tough it out.
No, if you try to force a stressed brain to perform at 100%, you will just trigger more inflammation. You have to manage your daily energy envelope.
And the clinical insights recommend a strategy called the 30-30 rule to safely jumpstart the system in the morning, right?
Yes.
30 grams of protein at breakfast, followed by a gentle 30-minute walk. The protein provides stable amino acids to prevent a blood sugar crash, and the walk signals that BDNF production without exhausting your central nervous system.
And pacing applies to your cognitive tasks, too. Do not demand 4 uninterrupted hours of deep focus from a brain that is in a brownout. Break tasks down.
Like the Pomodoro technique.
Exactly. Use focus sprints. Perhaps 2 25-minute blocks of work, followed by a mandatory 5-minute break where you physically step away from your screen and look at something in the distance to relax your optic nerve.
And what if you're in the middle of a meeting and you feel the fog rolling in, your heart rate spikes, you can't find a word? There's a real-time intervention you can use right in your chair, isn't there? Paced breathing.
Yes. Specifically, inhaling for a count of 4 and exhaling for a count of 6.
Why the longer exhale?
That longer exhale is the secret. It is entirely mechanical. When you extend your exhalation, you physically stimulate the vagus nerve, which runs from your brainstem down through your abdomen.
The vagus nerve is like the communication superhighway between the brain and the body, right?
Yes. And when you stimulate it with a long exhale, you are reaching up and pulling the emergency brake on your sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight response. Oh, wow.
You physically force your biology to shift into the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest state. It instantly halts the flood of stress hormones that are clouding your prefrontal cortex.
That is incredibly empowering. It means you are never completely helpless in those moments of panic. You have a built-in biological lever to pull.
You really do.
So, let's bring all this together. How do we use these strategies to support our brain health? Clearing brain fog requires a holistic, systemic approach. It's about recognizing that your brain needs stable fuel, which means leaning into the mind diet.
Right, the berries, the greens.
Exactly. You use the anthocyanins in berries to call off the immune attack, and B12 to patch the insulation on your nerves. It's about aggressively protecting your sleep architecture so the glymphatic system can power wash the metabolic debris out of your tissue.
Get those street sweepers working.
Yes. And it's about using exercise to signal the growth of new neural pathways, all while pacing your energy so you don't blow a fuse. But you know, the most important strategy of all might be the psychological one. You have to treat your brain with profound grace.
I love that.
It is not failing you. It's doing exactly what it was biologically designed to do, adapt to a crisis. Whether it's adjusting to a sudden lack of estrogen, fighting off lingering viral fragments, or managing the chronic stress of modern life, your brain is triaging its resources to keep you safe. It just needs you to provide the right environment for it to heal.
Which leads to a really compelling thought I want to leave you with today. We spent this entire deep dive looking at the biological mechanics of how to fix your brain, assuming that brain fog is a problem to be solved.
Which is how we usually approach it.
Right. But consider the environment we live in. In our hyper-connected world, we push our cognitive engines terrifically hard. We demand endless multitasking, we process thousands of digital notifications a day, and we stare at glowing screens emitting artificial light long past sunset.
We are constantly on.
We are asking our brains to process a volume of information that human biology simply never evolved to handle. So what if the brain fog you're experiencing isn't a malfunction or disease at all?
Oh, this is an interesting angle.
What if it is a highly evolved, sophisticated biological boundary? A built-in circuit breaker that deliberately cuts the power, forcing you to slow down, disconnect, and protect your most vital organ from the completely unsustainable demands of modern life.
That completely flips the script. If we view the fog as a protective mechanism rather than a defect, it changes our entire relationship with our own minds.
It really does. So the next time you walk into a room and draw a blank, or that simple everyday word suddenly vanishes from your vocabulary, don't panic.
Just breathe.
Take a deep 6-second exhale. Remember that your brain isn't broken. It might just be operating exactly as it should, asking for a better fuel source, a good power wash, and a little bit of grace while it recalibrates. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.